8. Hey, is it Super Tuesday, Jeff?
It's Super Tuesday. We don't want to be accused of spreading any viruses.
So we decided to wear a mask to show.
We're gonna wear
Mine has a cute little mermaid on it.
Yeah, right. I hate these masks.
Me
You
too.
wear them outside.
Only in the grocery store.
Yeah,
and when you're around other people. So, hello everybody. We are continuing our reading of Blessings, Gifts, and Deeds. And our special guest today is Joe Crane. And we have switched because there are only 10 chapters in this actual hard copy. So we have moved on to the computer and the electronic version of the book, which is on Joe's website, which is beatpeace.net. And we're going to do chapter 11 today. Jeff's going to read Joe's part, and I'm going to read the angelic part this time. Right?
Right. Which he gave you the whole book for free.
And the whole book is on there at beatpeace.net. So,
okay.
All right, let's get started.
This is about the churches and the colors. The beginning. While I was in the process of getting the first Blessing, Gifts, and Deeds published, I had many more visits from Michael. With each new visit, Michael gave more of what he meant by God has other work for you. I had thought writing this book was work enough for me, and that was all I had to do. But no, there was a bigger plan that God had in store, and I was reluctantly playing a part in it. Each visit I could see I was getting way over my head with all that Michael was telling me. The information was astounding, to say the least, and overwhelming in more ways than you can imagine. The book of Revelations from the Bible was to play a very big part in what I was to do. Because it was from this book, most of the good news God had given us was placed. True, it was misrepresented, misunderstood, miswritten, and used to threaten humankind. Michael came to correct what was done in his writings. The first thing was to give me the true message of Revelation, which he did, and spread that message through people he
I'm
called
having technical
masters.
difficulties.
These masters were spoken of in the book of Revelation in the messages to the angels of 7 churches. In the reading of Revelation, it is assumed that the messages were given to the churches, but they were given to the angels. It was up to the angels, also called the 7 stars, to give a message to each of the churches that they would know their greatness. The churches are called the golden lampstands in Revelation because they each have a light or gift to give to the world.
From the angel Zaphiel to the church of Ephesus, God said to teach divine love and grow in spirit, and they heard not.
Ephesus is the gift of advocator or the promoter.
Ephesus is female in being and teaching. This church is as a mother's love, teaching her children of God's love. With knowledge of this divine love, her children will grow with a spiritual connection to God. John's message to this church was to put down its obedience to her new husband and return to her children, lest they grow to be unknowing in spirit. Taken away will be their gift if they do not, but they will eat the spiritual food of God if they listen. From the angel Kamael to the church of Smyrna, God said to teach illumination of self through faith, and they heard not.
Smyrna is the gift of leadership.
Smyrna is female in the gift of life as a mother is. As in the beginning, before birth, a woman knows that there is life. Intuition is the foundation that gives birth to faith. Listen to that which God is telling you, and you will know not the fear of death. John's message to this church is listen to the truth of God. False teachings will lead you away from your gift, and you will know it not. Those that claim to have authority of God have it not. Let them say what they will, for it is you that will have the victory over the second death. From the angel Zadkiel to the church of Laodicea, God said to teach compassion and tolerance, and they heard not.
Laodicea is the gift of unconditional love.
Laodicea is female with the gift to manage the home. As a woman runs the house, you will lead with understanding for those that do not, that know not. You will guide with mercy and tenderness in the words you speak. As the woman of God's house, know that you are loved and stand in the light of God, for true wealth is there. Speak of this love with authority and take your place to one side or the other. Give not your silence to those that would hear. Listen to your hearts, for God speaks. Ignore it not. From the angel Gabriel to the church of Pergamum, God said to teach consciousness of natural knowing, and they heard not.
Pergamum is the gift of the philosopher or intellectual.
Pergamum is male in spirit and knowing of God's love. You hold in your heart the truth, and knowing of God's love, you will not be moved. If the teaching of half truths are told, you will only gain that which serves no one in spirit. If you gather that which does not nourish the spirit, your deeds will be made open for all to see. Hold true, for God will feed the spirit and forgive all that has been done. From the angel Haniel to the church of Thyatira, God said to teach love as Jesus did, and they heard not.
Thyatira is the gift of the art of creation.
Thyatira is male, physical, the action of teaching of the love of God. You are doing the work that God has given you to do. Do not listen to the teachings that call you only to the physical world and of these things. All that was done will be undone when truth is returned. Guilt will be laid upon those that gathered material things only, and it will be laid on them by themselves. To those that kept balance will carry, not lift upon themselves this burden called guilt. Hold fast, and you will be known. From the angel Raphael to the church of Sardis, God said to teach awareness and reason, and they heard not.
Sardis is the gift of balance or healing.
Sardis is male in thinking, the mental understanding of the love of God, clear unlike those that seem to be awake, but are yet asleep. Reason is not known to them, and all that God has told of his love will pass them by. Those that would stay awake got authority to speak the truth, and the false teachings will shatter like clay pots. From the angel Ratziel to the church of Philadelphia, God said to open the gates of wisdom, and they heard not.
Philadelphia is the gift of teaching.
Philadelphia is male seat of passion and the gate of emotions. The key that you hold is that outgoing love, the gift, the giving. Other emotions that you have would lead you astray if it were not for the love. Hold fast to the love and wisdom, for the other emotions will bow to you. For this, you will be given an understanding of God and all that is of God.
Each of the seven masters has a gift or quality that holds a spiritual energy needed to open what Michael calls the well of souls. I, being the one facilitating the gathering, am called the servant, and Michael is the eighth angel that stands with the servant at the gathering. The other seven angels listed above stand with the masters at the gathering. As the servant,
You will gather seven masters and teach them to teach.
were the words Michael said to me. I never knew what a job that was going to be. I started thinking that maybe the Pope and the Dalai Lama, along with Sai Baba, couldn't have been any more problematic than getting seven ordinary people together. Not only were seven people needed, but also each had to fit into what were called the churches. These were not a church like a building or some doctrine of religious beliefs. They are ways of being that came from the very souls of all humankind. Michael had taken me through John's vision of Revelation, but I was only allowed to remember the part concerning the churches. As Michael had shown and explained, each person was as of one of the 7 churches in the book of Revelation. Now, what we call a church could also be called clans, tribes, or even an archetype. In the book of Revelation, it speaks to each church that they do this and that, which God approves of and good for them. On the other hand, God has some things against them and he is going to punish them for it. Well, no. Michael said that each church has a gift as their way of being. With the gift, each church makes a contribution to the world. Each church also has traps that they tend to fall into out of their humanness. Not that God is going to get anyone for being in his or her traps. It is just a matter of knowing that what traps are so you don't fall into them. Better yet, on the other hand, knowing what your traps are, you'll know when you are in one or more of them. Having a working knowledge of each master's characteristics that I needed for a gathering, I went to work finding them. Deb is the first master I found, a warm and wonderful woman with a husband and 2 daughters. She has a way with children, not just her own. When she spends time with any child, the child knows he or she is special, perfect in love. Deb gives of herself in a way that empowers any child to believe they could accomplish anything. I would tell anyone that wants to teach children to go and spend a day with Deb. What can be learned from her is more valuable than any university. She was the Church of Laodicea. Kathleen is the most fun, bubbling with excitement and joy, and is contagious to anyone that comes in contact with her. She could talk you into or out of almost anything, and you would be happy to do it. She has 2 teenage sons and keeps busy running her own business for weight management and health. She has a way of lifting your spirit no matter how down you may feel and puts a smile back on your face. She is perfect as the Church of Ephesus. Stephen is a very large man standing well over 6 feet with a heart as big as Texas. The work that he does is fixing problems for people that called in for assistance. In all the time I have known him, he is about bringing things into balance. He spends most of his time when not working helping other people to solve their problems. He is a deeply spiritual man, desiring a personal relationship with God and is active in his church. He was, too, become one of my closest friends and confident in the work Michael had given. Without his support, I don't think the gathering would have taken place when it did. Stephen is a prime example of the Church of. Mark is a gay man that always had a smile on his face, like he knew something that no one else did. He was quiet, quite and pleasant to be around, and never raised his voice for anything except to sing. Mark sings opera with such a beautiful voice, you didn't have to know the words of the song to know what it was about. He owned a travel company where he created tailored tours for groups on different themes. He was forever creating something to make the world a better, happier place for everyone. This ability to create made him one of the, for the Church of Thyatira. Sherry is a tall woman from a Jewish background that is also gay. She is now a practicing Buddhist who organized a chanting circle in her home every week. She is also a freelance photographer specializing in child photography. It is amazing how she can come in and take control of a situation and have it all work. That makes her perfect for the Church of Smyrna. Ben works on the computer field and is highly into research and development. He figures out how to do web pages and is also into music. His analytical mind is a wonder in itself. By the easy solves problems. Once you tell Ben what the problem is, he will come up with the best way of handling it, whether it is personal or professional. He has a philosophical point of view on spirituality as well as on everything else. This makes him the best choice for the church of Pergamum. The last person for the gathering needed to be a gay man of the church of Philadelphia. It had taken me 2 years to gather the masters. And this last one was the hardest of all to find. I thought I found the one I needed in a man named Keith. We talked and he was very interested. He read the book and declared himself in, but had not done the baptism yet. He started talking about him giving his life to this work. He went on where it took to have this message go on. He would be willing to sell his business and even his house, giving me all the monies to use I saw fit. I was happy with the words in the book being that powerful for someone. But then again, I was also very frightened. It could have been easy for me to say okay to this. I could have justified it by telling myself it was for spiritual work, but I didn't. Keith, this isn't about that, I heard myself saying. I am not asking you to do any of that. What I am asking you to do is be a part of something wonderful. I don't even know what is going to come of all this. I was told by the Archangel Michael to gather 7 masters and teach them to teach. I am to hold a gathering that I don't know what we are going to do there. Next, I asked, have you done the baptism yet? His answer was no. Okay, then, here's what you need to do. Go get some wine and do the baptism like it says in the book. After you do that, you should be very clear that you want to be in the gathering or not. But I want to tell you something. Because of what you offered tonight, you are a child of God made in God's own image and likeness. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way you are. You don't have to offer all that you have to any church or religion for God to love you. You don't have to give away everything for you to be part of anything. As a matter of fact, any religion or spiritual group should be honored to have you just because of the wonderful man you are. Do the baptism and then give me a call. We said our goodbyes and hung up. A week had passed before Keith called back. Keith spoke of how he believed in the teachings of the book and that he honored the work I was doing. I heard enough tee-ups for bad news before I knew he was going to decline being in the gathering, which he did. He said all the things someone says in an awkward end to a conversation, and we both knew it. We said our goodbyes, and the click of the phone told me that there was still no Philadelphia to complete the masters needed. Time was running out for the gathering to be held as Michael said it would. I was at the point of giving up when I got a phone call from someone that had changed their mind. Gary was to be the last gay man I needed for the place of Philadelphia. He was a best-selling author and writer. He gave lectures and taught classes, which made him an ideal for the master I needed. Gary has kind demeanor and is also soft-spoken, but make no mistake, he is a very powerful man. He knows more about everything than anyone I know and is extremely interesting to listen to. Best of all, he is great at teaching what he knows to others. Gary is the master for the Church of Philadelphia. Wonderful, I said. Now all we need to do is set a date. I told him I would have to get back to him and let him know when it was going to be and where. We said our goodbyes and hung up. The days went by and I checked with the other masters as to when would be a good time to hold a gathering. After talking to each of the masters, I decided this was insane. I checked my calendar and picked 3 days and sent out an email to all of them and told them when it was going to be. Everyone had different times that would work for them. This time and day would work for some of them, but that day and time wouldn't work for others. Enough is enough. I told a few of them in our conversations. I finally just said, we have a chance to do something far beyond what we have ever done. I have been busting my hump for the past year to get 7 masters together for this gathering. I don't think you appreciate just what is happening here. This is not an invitation to each of you that you can accept or decline. You were the ones that chose in. You were the ones that said yes. You don't get to choose out because the dates don't fit into your schedule. Most of all, what you are missing is that this isn't an invitation at all. Given it came from an angel, you can consider it as a command performance. Things come up every time something important is about to happen. You can choose to let it pass you by, and maybe next time you can do whatever it takes to come together as the masters you are. With that said, I decided to send out an email to all of them. It didn't take too many days before I heard back from each and every one of them. They all had agreed to handle whatever they needed to be there for the gathering. The place was to be at the house of the master of the church of Ephesus. Everything was set, almost.
And that is chapter 11.
11.
Yay.
Yay.
So we
Oh,
have,
are excited.
yeah, we're excited to have Joe on with us today.
Me
And
too.
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
What's up, old
Yes.
man? How do you feel being another year older?
Another year older.
Okay.
You know, I was thinking, next year I'm going to be 3/4 of a century old. You would have thought I would have learned something in that time.
You'd think.
I think.
So Joe, we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the colors and have you give us your quick 9 bars of each color. And
Yeah.
so that if people are wondering what color or what church they might be from, that maybe they would have a better idea after this
All right.
video.
Real quick, do you remember our first conversation when you called me? And you asked me,
No.
what color are you?
Oh,
And I said, white. I didn't know what colors were. You go, no, in the churches. I said, I don't go to church. He said, oh, you're a lost cause.
Yeah, and then when I met Joe, I was doing some kind of hand over the stones because one of the masters says, well, if you put your hands over the stones, sometimes you can gravitate towards one. And I didn't feel anything over the orange, and I'm like, I don't know what color I am. And so I finally went up to you and I shook your hand and I gave you a smile, and you look at me and you go, yep, she's an orange.
yeah. So are we taking questions for people, or am I just going to run through the gamut of the different colors of the churches?
We are
Oh.
gonna, yes, we'll have you run through the gamut, and then we'll field some questions if there are any people out there that
Okay.
might have questions.
All right, I'll do a quick 9 bars. Smyrna is red. That's the color associated with it. And it's the church of the leader. And these people, when something goes awry and nobody knows what to do, these people will just jump in and take charge. It's just who they are. Okay. Then there comes Ephesus or Pergamum.
Ephesus.
Ephesus. All right. Excuse me. I had this cough ever since I got back from China.
Just in case people are wondering, we're going.
I'm just teasing. It's allergies. So anyway, that's orange. And they're the advocators. You know, they promote everybody and everything. And if they go see a movie and they think it was great, by the time they're done telling you about it, you want to go see it. So the part about they'll talk you in or out of anything, that's pretty much true. And they're the most fun. Okay. Then let's see, there's red, orange, yellow is Pergamum. And they're the thinkers, the intellectuals, the philosophers. And they're so caught up in finding the truth in everything. Okay, they're not necessarily good people. Because they're in their heads all the time. And my teacher Alexander used to say, with a yellow, you want to put them in the room and give them all the data they need and let them figure it out, and lock the door and don't let them out. So, but one of the good things about a yellow is I make sure I always have a yellow that I can call and tell them, look, this is what's going on. What's the best way to handle it? Well, they'll figure it out because that's what they do. So I've used that many times. Then comes Sardis. And if you look at Sardis, that's the green. And green is in the center of the rainbow. They're very centered people. For them, you know, rocks are hard, water's wet, and the check is not in the mail. It's either a credit or it's a deficit. And what they do is they bring things back into balance. Accountants are a good example, because what do? They balance the books. So that's green. Then there's blue, and that's the teacher's color, and that's Philadelphia. And what they're about is teaching people. They're about raising everyone's level of knowledge higher. So they're very good at it. But one of the things they do is they talk too much. You have to slap them to get them to shut up. They give you more information than you need. So that's the blue. But they know a lot. Then there comes purple, or come on, I lost the church.
Thyatira.
Thyatira. All right, that's referred to as the master's color, not because they're like masters, but because they are in a way like a master, such as Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Mozart, Beethoven. They create something from nothing. So that's their gift, creativity. And they want everything to be beautiful. Then the last church is Laodicea. And with this church, it's called the Church of the Saints because they get it about service. They know how to be in service to one another, and they do it joyfully because that's their giftedness. They're there to make sure that everything works out just fine. Okay? Let's see. Am I forgetting anything? They're kind of like a mother to all. They're very nurturing and caring. So that's the Church of Laodicea. All right. Anything else you guys want to know? Any other questions?
Yes. The notes on the keyboard, how does that correspond with each of the colors or each of the churches or the archetypes?
Okay. Each, in the scale, there's what's called a didactic scale. And in that, Is it the didactic? Well, anyway, they go according to colors. C is the Church of the Leader. D is the orange. Yellow, C, D, is E. Green is F. Blue is G. Purple is A. And Laodicea is B. So they each have their own frequency. And one of the things that is interesting about it is when you go to set up your own gate of grace, if you want to balance it real quick, you go from one stone to the next and strike the tuning fork for that color. And that balances the energy of the gate really quick. I know I've done this.
That's a neat trick.
Is that
Yeah.
the Solfeggio scale?
Say again?
The Solfeggio scale they call?
No.
Solfeggio.
Oh, yeah.
You're thinking of the solfeggio. I don't work with that scale.
Mm.
I work with the sacred solfeggio scale.
Oh,
That's different.
okay.
So
Isn't it interesting too that those colors are the same colors of the chakras? The 7.
yeah,
What's that correlation?
I don't know.
Me neither. I thought you would.
So
Okay. Here's the deal. Isn't it interesting that they are the same as the chakras? Well,
Yeah.
here's the truth in there. Each chakra is given a color. This is so you know where it's at. The root chakra is red. However, I assure you the color of that chakra is not red. The heart chakra is the color associated with it is green, but the heart chakra isn't green. The colors were given specifically so people would know the location of a chakra. So you have
Interesting.
red,
Orange, yellow.
orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, violet.
awesome. So Joe, we had a question about the traps for each of the colors. If we could do a rundown of the traps for red and going down the
All right.
rainbow.
All right. Here we'll go through the leader. And they're the people that are in charge. A leader that is in his traps rules or leads out of fear. Okay. And confusion such that they're in control. Okay. So it's kind of like, this is what I want you to do. And if you don't get it done, you're fired. You're out of here. Okay. So people are saying, I don't want to get fired and so on. All right. That's a leader that's in their traps, kind of like somebody who's in charge now up in Washington. He's a red and he is definitely in his traps. A leader that is in his giftedness, they lead out of empowerment. And their thing is, okay, what do you need from me such that you can get it done? Okay. And one of the things that I noticed too is if you go to a leader in his traps and you didn't do it, you're fired. If you go to a leader who's in his giftedness, he'd say, okay, so you didn't accomplish it. what are you going to do to get it done? And what do you need from me? All right. So that's the red. Then you have the orange, and they're party animals. They're the most fun. And the best way to get an orange to be someplace is to tell them, oh, everybody's going to be there. Okay. So they're about fun, and they're about people being happy. So happy and fun for the oranges. Now that's the thing about them, and like I say, they're promoters. They're advocators. You know, they promote everybody and everything. That's when they're in their giftedness. When they're in their trappedness, we'll use that word. I can make up my own words. When they're in their traps, it's like they're like a butterfly. There is so much going on. They go from one flower to the next, and they're caught up in the excitement, you know, of going from one to another. Now, let me give you an example. I'm talking to an orange and so on and so forth. Oh, what have you been doing? And yada, yada, yada. And oh, yeah. And oh, I have so much to tell you and some stuff you'd be excited about. But, you know, we're going to need more time. So how about we meet at Tuesday at 2:00 at Arby's? I'm just picking it. And it's like, yeah, okay. So I'll see you at 2:00 on Tuesday at Arby's. All right. I go to somebody else. Oh, what's going on with you? Oh, that's great. I'm impressed. You know, I might be able to help you out in that, but, you know, we should probably meet and talk about it. How about we meet at Jack in the Box at 2:00 on Tuesday? And so on and so on and so on. And what they do is they overcommit. Okay. And because they want to please everybody, they want everybody to be happy, and they really mean it when they say it. So with an orange, you have to keep on them. All right. Then you have the yellows, and they're in their heads. You know, and here's the thing, you know, I said how I have friends that are yellows, and I'll have a problem and I want to know how to fix it. And I'll tell them what the problem is and ask them, give me the best case scenario on what actions I should take to have it work out. And they'll say, okay. Then they'll call me back a day later. I need more data. So then you give them more data. Okay, I'll work on it. Then they'll call you back again. I need more data. I need more data. And finally, the entire thing is about more data. Now, how you get around this is, hang on a minute. Okay. How you get around this is, all right, there is no more data. I need the answer by 2:00 on Tuesday. And at maybe 1:56, 1:58, they'll call you and they will give you the best case scenario. Now, if you're smart, all you have to do is listen to what they told you and do it. And it'll work out because they figured it out. That's what their giftedness is. All right. So I guess their trap is, because they're in their heads so much and they're thinking about how things should be, so on and so forth, they can really be jerks and they can piss people off. Why? Because they're right. And yellows have a need to be right. Their need to be right is so strong, they'll even be wrong to be right. So that's the trap of the yellow. Now then, we go to the green. And the trap of the green, I was talking about rocks are hard, water's wet. Well, that's the way that it is. There is no gray area with the green. It either is or it isn't. And they're good with money. They're very good with money. But here's the problem with them. They'd fire their own mother if she misplaced a dime, because everything has to balance. So I guess their big trap is the lack of seeing the perfection in imperfection. So, but they're good with money. All right. Then there's the blue. And they're teachers, and they're very good at what they do. And those that are in their giftedness will share their knowledge with everyone. Those that are in their traps, they know they're smart, okay? And they're not going to waste their time, teaching anyone who doesn't have the mental capability of rising to their level of genius. So they withhold. Okay. So with the blue in his trap, whoever he's teaching or talking to has to come up to his level that he predetermines. So that's the blue. Then there's the purple. And those, like I say, the masters. And they paint and sculpt and so on and so forth. And one of the things that Michael was talking about, when they get into their traps, well, when they're in their giftedness, they're very successful. Everybody wants something that they've made. People will buy stuff from them, and they can get pretty well off. But here's the problem. When they're in their giftedness, they create out of love. When they're in their traps, they're creating for money. And when they do that, their work suffers because they're not putting the love into it. And Michael said something about the picture will be unpleasing to the eye. The dance will be lame. And so on, because they're working for money. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, okay, because you went blank.
Oh.
Okay. Then the last is Laodicea, and that's the color of the saints. They're into it for service. Okay, they get it about service. And as long as they're in their giftedness and they're using that as a gift to others, they're very powerful. Okay. However, one of the things that happens with them is they don't feel appreciated. And if they don't feel appreciated, they're not in their giftedness because they want recognition, they want appreciation, so that screws up their giving and their kindness. So that's the Laodicea. So
thank you for sharing that. That was very helpful, I think.
I
think that will help. And this would be a good video to send people to when they're new to the conference. You could say, hey, go watch that video, chapter 11. And then it'll save you time and then they can just come up with questions after. So that's kind of cool.
Chapter 11.
But
That reminds me of a friend of mine who was a recovering alcoholic, and he constantly quotes the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, of which I suggest everyone read, because you think it's about not drinking, but it isn't. It teaches spiritual growth.
Yeah.
So if you want to increase your spirituality, pick it up and read it. I did it just so I would have some ammunition to defend myself against my friend who was in AA. And he was always talking about, well, it says in chapter such and such and so and so. So when you said chapter 11, that clicked that off in my head.
that's funny. Yeah. Well, it's wonderful that you shared that about the colors. But I have a question from Mary,
Mhm.
and she wanted to know if okay, so you said something about this. Jeff asked if it was the solfeggio scale or the regular scale, and you said that it
Mhm.
was the sacred solfeggio scale.
Yeah.
Now, she wanted to know, is there a difference, or
Yeah.
is it okay? Maybe you can explain the difference.
Long ago, after the dinosaurs, but long ago, there was this young shepherd, and he played what they call a lyre or a lyre, which was a stringed instrument. Each of those strings was a different note. Well, of course it would be. All right. Those notes were based on what was called the solfeggio scale. And the young guy's name was David. And every now and then, King Saul would go bananas, crazier than a pet coon with rabies. And Daniel would go play for him and bring him back to sanity. So that's where the solfeggio first ended up showing up. Well, there was a guy by the name of Joey Puleo, and he discovered the frequencies of the solfeggio scale. So if you're interested in reading about that or getting more information, there's a book called The Apocalyptic, God, I can't think of the name of it. I could go look. But anyway, it's got a lot of good stuff in there. The main thing about it is it covers the Knights Templars, the Illuminati, all of these conspiracy theories, but I'm not into conspiracy theories. So the part in there about the solfeggio scale, that's interesting. Well, the sacred solfeggio scale runs on, how do I want to say it? Runs on the same way the solfeggio scale is put together, like the diatonic. That's what the chakra tuning forks are on. All of those frequencies are present in nature. Okay, birds sing them, yada da. And one of the things that's cool is the bee on the chakra set tuning fork. The bee is the same frequency of the sound that a bee makes when it's flying. So it's the same frequency. So anyway, that's just cool. Okay. Now, On the diatonic scale, you have do, re, mi, fa, sol. Okay, it's a natural progression. With the solfeggio scale, it isn't. It's a mathematical progression that is inconsistent with the natural scale of the diatonic. But the cool thing about it is, yeah, it's mathematical, but it's still harmonic. Okay, so the sacred solfeggio is much higher in frequency than the solfeggio. So that's
Oh, okay.
that's the difference.
Okay.
What else we got?
No more questions on, I guess that's it as far as questions go. Jeff, did you have any other questions for Joe?
No, and you can get all the information on the churches and the different, even the traps, I think, too, is on your website, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Just not,
Be at
yeah.
peace.net. And it's BEATPEACE.net. Not just the letter.
Beat peace.
That's what it looks like. Beat peace. Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe, for being on with us. And
Well, I had a real good time. I hope you did too.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
You know, here's another thing besides the book, Blessings, Gifts, and Deeds. If you go to the web page, there's angel visits that go back years. Okay. So that is, I guess you could call it the foundation of everything that we do or that I teach. But now it's more than just the foundation. It's starting to look like walls. Who knows? One day we may even put a roof on. All right.
Yeah, we want you back to explain some of those when we get into the angel visit.
Oh, I'm sure you do. So,
yes.
All right. Well, guys, I had fun. You guys did a good job reading and so on. So
Yes.
I'm
We're going to continue with chapter 12 on the next video. And,
okay.
and we're going to finish the book and then we'll move on from there.
Okay.
Things that
Well,
people want,
thank you so much for having me. And call me if you need me. And
Okay.
I'll let you go and talk to you later.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
All
Be
right.
at peace and teach
Thanks,
only
Joe.
love.
Absolutely. And my heart to yours.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.